Three storm systems are set to bring rounds of thunderous activity to the United States this week. This comes as there will also be various temperature swings ongoing around and behind them. This video has the latest on the pattern ahead in the next 10 minutes.
One Nation Web.
Thank you to everybody for all the support on the last video with several dozen likes. Can we get 75 presses of the like button for this video? I would love that support, and it definitely helps this channel in the algorithm. With that being said, let me now support you with a look at the day-by-day forecast for the week ahead. Let's start that with a look at the future radar expected as we go through the coming days. First of all, as we go into the Monday, July 7th timeframe, you can already note two of the three main systems that were highlighted on the thumbnail and then in the intro of this video. One is going to be the front that is already set to be in parts of the northeastern and mid-Atlantic regions, as well as back into the Ohio Valley by Monday evening. This will be a catalyst for scattered to widespread afternoon and evening storm development in particular. It will be aided by moisture coming up through the mid-Atlantic coastline area as a result of the remnants of the recently landfalling Tropical Storm Chantal. While the storms associated with that front don't look to be too severe in most cases, the storms in the second area that I'm highlighting for Monday and Monday night could be on the stronger to severe side in more cases than not. That's going to be as you extend out of parts of the high plains and into the north central plains as a new low pressure gets together. This one will carry us through a lot more of the week as it slowly treks eastward. Let's continue to follow the track of our early to midweek systems as we go through the day on our Tuesday, July 8th. You can see that especially during the afternoon and evening, that's when we get more of the greens and dark greens popping up, as storms, of course, will be fueled by the daytime heating. One of our boundaries is going to be that continued one in parts of the eastern U.S. in particular, from parts of the New England states back down to the Tennessee Valley, as well as in the mid-Atlantic. That's where it looks like the best chance for scattered to widespread storm development in the east will be. Could there be an isolated storm anywhere, even down towards the Florida coast? Sure. It's just going to be along that front where we get the better chance for development. The same will be back on up here into some parts of the central plains as well as into the upper Midwest, as that second system that was back in the high plains on Monday treks into these zones Tuesday evening. That's where we could get some storms. Some of them could even be severe. Here's a quick reminder that the awesome Weather Bell model maps I use are available to you with a free trial link below. Check that out down in the description of this video. As the calendar turns from Tuesday, July 8th into Wednesday, July 9th, we will see a bit more of a mess over areas, especially around and east of the Mississippi River Valley between those two systems. They will be kind of closer together. We won't see much in the way of extremely focused corridors of scattered to widespread development. Instead, there could be scattered storms over many of these zones that I'm hashing out, from Missouri to Maine, all the way back down to the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, points in between, all kinds of zones here. We will be looking at least a possibility of a storm on Wednesday. A lot of this doesn't look to be necessarily severe in most cases, though. Things will change by the time we get towards Thursday, at least for areas further west. While we continue to watch scattered storm development in the east, we will start to see that third system of the week getting its act together out of Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado, and then out into the north central U.S. As this new low pressure system and associated jet stream trough eject on out late on Thursday, we could see a severe weather event over at least the zones I have circled in places like the Dakotas, for example, Thursday evening. From there, we will likely continue to watch some rounds of severe weather through the plains into Friday. And eventually this storm will also make its way east, converging with all of that energy that will already be lingering around over the eastern part of the country. Let's now dive deeper into the two stages of this week's active weather. Let's start with a look at the jet stream energy that's going to be fueling our two early to midweek systems. Starting with a look as we go into the Monday, July 7th timeframe, you can clearly see some of our jet stream energy that's going to be associated with that weaker front from parts of the Ohio Valley into the northeast as Monday rolls on. The blues and the grays are not too impressive. They indicate very weak to modest energy pushing on through. In general, that is why severe weather shouldn't be too intense, as there won't even be much in the way of energy in the atmosphere to support a widespread setup. It will be a little bit stronger of a setup, though, as I've been mentioning, as you come out of parts of Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado, and then out into parts of the central and north central plains. Some of the jet stream energy there looks on the stronger side, and with daytime heating moving north towards that, it could support at least a damaging wind and hail event. Overall, both of those two pieces of energy will continue in their southeastward tracks into our Tuesday afternoon and evening. It will be a little bit harder to place where these pieces of energy will exactly be, though, with time, and that's why we're going to see a general chance of showers and storms finding itself around and south of the energy, especially in the eastern U.S. by midweek. Here's a closer look at which areas should be on the lookout for severe weather with the early to midweek systems. As we go into our Monday, July 7th, as well as Monday night, there will be two corridors to watch. The biggest one, of course, with that second system that will be moving on out into parts of the central U.S. As high as a level 3 of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather has been put out by the Storm Prediction Center for Monday. That includes at least parts of Nebraska and South Dakota. There is a level 2 to level 1 surrounding that through a lot of the high plains and north central plains for the threat of damaging winds, hail, and at least a couple of tornadoes. As I've been mentioning, the front that's going to be in the east Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday is on the weaker side. However, there is a level 1 of 5 severe weather threat that has been put down at least as a precaution by the Storm Prediction Center. That includes areas around Lake Erie and then into other parts of New York and Vermont. Let's take a closer look at possible timing and intensity of storms for Monday and Monday night with a look at this HRRR model guidance. As we go through the mid to late morning hours from the northeast U.S. back over into the Central Plains zone to watch, there shouldn't be much going on. Things should change by the time we get to mid to late afternoon, though. That's where, with daytime heating and some weak jet stream energy, we could get a few severe storms here and there from Cleveland, Ohio, all the way up to Plattsburgh on the New York-Vermont border, points in between. Again, this is going to be mainly a daytime heating field threat. Things should wind down quickly into the mid to late evening there. Back in the plains, though, things should really ramp up as the afternoon and evening rolls on. Through early to mid to possibly even late afternoon, we'll likely see some storms already rolling through the Dakotas and Minnesota. Damaging winds and hail, possibly a tornado, would be the main threats out of those. The better chance for more scattered into even numerous counts of damaging winds, hail, and even a couple tornadoes, that's going to get going out of South Dakota storms into parts of Nebraska, as well as the eastern zones of Wyoming, Colorado, and then northwest Kansas. Probably through the mid to late evening is when the best chance for the highest wind gusts near 80 miles per hour. 2-inch hail could get going. Overall, these storms should sink southeastward fairly quickly as the night rolls on, and things should weaken down by the time we get towards a time like 5 a.m. on our Tuesday morning. Speaking of Tuesday, the Storm Prediction Center has already put out level 1 of 5 severe weather risk zones for the 2 individual boundaries that are going to be continuing into that time frame. The system further east will be especially extending out of the mid-Atlantic and possibly back down through the Appalachians and the southeast. I would argue that that marginal risk in those zones could also extend back into parts of the Tennessee Valley. Either way, be prepared in a lot of the east for a possible severe storm threat in isolated fashion as the day rolls on. A similar threat will evolve with likely a damaging wind and hail risk along that secondary front as it begins to weaken down while moving through parts of the Central Plains and the mid-Mississippi Valley. With the breakdown of the early to midweek time frame in mind, let's now focus in on what is set to be occurring in the jet stream and how that could impact the intensity of that late week storm. Here we go, playing things out of our Wednesday, July 9th and into the Thursday, July 10th time frame. You can see that a lot of the central and eastern U.S. will be taking a break from stronger jet stream energy. Any little bit of that energy closer to the east coast, though, will continue in keeping storm chances up there. A lot of those storms will be general. The storms that are going to be coming with this next trough moving out of the northwestern U.S. and towards the plains will likely be on the severe side. Thursday evening looks to be a pretty intense one over parts of Montana, Wyoming, and then especially out into at least the Dakotas and Nebraska. That is going to be as we see that intense U-shaped trough in the jet stream, helping to pull up ingredients. That's going to include moisture. Any daytime heating we get, that will only help in fueling up severe storms that are likely going to occur along and ahead of the boundary. That boundary will continue east with pretty intense force. Again, this is the strongest system of the week, more than likely that's going to continue into Friday. Around and southeast of this jet stream energy is where the strongest storms could occur, so I'd be on the lookout especially over this zone that I'm circling in general for around Friday and Friday evening. Although this trough is expected to begin weakening down with time, it should still be fairly strong in terms of jet stream energy over the northern and central U.S., at least through the weekend. That means that we will have to watch that third system and possibly a fourth one behind it for continued severe weather chances. Since there's going to be a lot of stronger thunderstorm action occurring across parts of the country over the next 5 days, from Monday to Saturday, we could see some flooding concerns. Here's a look at the Monday to Saturday time frame with the Weather Prediction Center's forecast rainfall guidance. You can see one zone to watch is especially going to be through the eastern U.S., as we will see the two systems from the early to midweek time frame converging there and really lasting even towards at least Thursday and Friday. While all this will not fall at once in most cases, many zones that I have circled from the southeast up to the northeast will get an inch plus of rain over the course of 5 days. Some spots could get upwards of 2 to 4 inches of rain, particularly in the mid-Atlantic where we see remnants of Chantal and then the new fronts moving in. That's where especially at least an isolated scattered in flood threat could come together. There will also be the potential for flooding elevated over the north-central U.S. between the second system, the one that's going to move through early this week, and then the third one that's going to come in later in the week. Although the rainfall in this zone isn't going to fall all at once, as I just mentioned, 1 to 3 inches of rain, some of it falling in a quick period of time, that should certainly at least cause isolated issues. Although I discussed temperature trends in the last forecast video, I do want to do that again to finish up this one. As we go through the near-term time frame out of our Sunday when I'm recording this and into the Monday time frame, we are looking at a little bit of some cooler than average temperatures as we see clouds, thunderstorms, and some frontal boundaries in parts of the central U.S. Further east from there, though, where we have not seen as much frontal action, at least for the near term, temperatures should be around to above average, closer to the east coast. Also notice some of that warmer than average air already getting going early this week in the west. That will only build as we go out of Tuesday into Wednesday with a huge ridge that will be at least a temporary part of the jet stream. Washington State, Oregon, parts of Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, even back through the Four Corners region. That looks to be the area affected the most by 5 to 10 to even 15 degree above average temperatures at times through midweek. Further east, temperatures will be a little bit more in the way of fluctuating. That would be the word I'd use to describe it. That will continue as we go towards Thursday and Friday. But notice what had happened there. Tuesday, Wednesday, the big warm-up is in the west. All of a sudden, it starts fading while it moves into the plains. That is going to be because of that strong jet stream dip that's going to fuel the strong storms. As it moves in, it will be bringing in a quick but fairly intense cool blast that will be moving through at least the Mountain West Thursday and Friday. It will try to continue sinking southeast from there as the week rolls on and the front moves. With that being said, that is about all I have to say for this latest forecast update. Can you help me get 75 likes on this video? If you have not hit that thumbs up button already, you weren't convinced at the start of the update, but now you are. I'd love it if you'd hit that thumbs up down below. If we could get to 100, that would be even better. Of course, also make sure you're subscribed if you have not already. With that being said, though, that's all I have for today's update. Thanks for sticking with me right here at One Nation Weather. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next one.
One Nation Weather.